Yo, how is it going, everyone? I have my first reaction video for you guys today. We are reacting to Charles Oliveira story by Clinch Teeth. I'll link the video down in the description to go check it out. But I saw this video keep coming up in my recommended, and I wanted to watch it with you guys. So yeah, let's get right into this video.
He was a guy who was kind of known as a guy who fell apart.
A quitter a little bit. Yeah.
Cub Swanson knocked him out.
Max Holloway had like that weird neck thing going on.
Yeah.
Because he was not a knockout artist. I think when you look at Charles Oliveira today, this man is capable of knocking anybody out.
I will never speak the way that I have spoken about Charles Oliveira again. I did not know he was that good.
So, you think you know toughness? Let me introduce you to Charles Oliveira.
Oliveira's a monster.
I think
That was a pretty good intro right there, talking about how everyone kind of was doubting him and he was a quitter, like known as a quitter before. But yeah, it's not really the same
that
anymore.
long, lean muscle for MMA.
He moved up in weight and it's different now. That was crazy. That Tony Ferguson fight with the armbar was insane. I don't know how you don't tap to that,
Oliveira
but
ate shit for most of his childhood
only
and turned
props
it
to
into
Tony
fuel
there.
for success, becoming more than a fighter, but a living, breathing symbol of determination.
When he knocked out Chandler, and he beat the shit out of Gaethje. When he was putting it on people, you gotta go, God damn, he's good.
However, Charles's first fight began long before he stepped onto the UFC stage. He faced an illness in childhood so severe that doctors feared he'd be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. So come along as we dive deep into the extraordinary
I don't think I actually knew about
boy
that.
who overcame poverty, disease, and adversity to emerge as a UFC superstar. This is the story of Charles Oliveira.
Forgot to mention, Charles has a fight end of October, near the end of October. I'm actually really excited for that fight. I think Charles is one of my favorite fighters right now. Definitely probably top. He's up there on my top fighters that are currently fighting. Probably favorite fighters ever in the UFC. But yeah, I'm excited for that fight, and I'm excited to see how that goes. A little nervous because he lost the last fight, but I like Islam too, so we'll see how it goes.
Born to a humble background. Born to a humble background, Charles Oliveira da Silva first opened his eyes in the rough and ready neighborhood of Vicente de Carvalho in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
What was
On
that?
October 17th, 1989. Growing up, he was a regular kid, consumed by a passionate love for soccer and dreaming of turning his passion into a profession, despite the lack of opportunities around him.
Duas, três ruas de uma favela. Minha mãe e meu pai não sabem nem ler nem escrever. Meu pai sabe bem pouco. Meu pai e minha mãe trabalharam em dois empregos. Minha mãe trabalhava de faxineira na escola e ela saía de lá e ia para casa do dono da escola para trabalhar de faxineira. Meu pai trabalhou na feira como frente a vida inteira e trabalhava no matadouro.
Essa aqui é minha avó, Dona Maria. Esse aqui é meu irmão, Emerson. Essa é minha tia, Regiane. Esse aqui também é meu outro irmão, Eduardo. Minha mãe, Osana. Meu pai, Toninho, Francisco. Esse aqui é meu cachorro, Chorão.
At the tender age of 7, Charles found himself grappling with a nasty case of rheumatic fever. The pain was so intense, he'd often find himself frozen in place, locked down by a tidal wave of hurt that left him unable to walk.
Dang.
As if that wasn't hard enough, he was diagnosed with a heart murmur, with his doctor warning him that he might become paraplegic.
Mano, meu pai ligou desesperado, chorando.
What is a paraplegic?
Although he was just
Is that like
7 years
paralyzed?
old, Charles gave up on his dream of becoming a professional soccer player then and there. His parents, however, were devout Christians and trusted that God had better plans for their child. So they pushed Charles to stick to a regular lifestyle, including getting involved in all sorts of sports. And wouldn't you know, his health actually got better over time.
Yeah, that's
Eu
good.
falo muito isso, o esporte ele salva vidas, sabe? E a gente não fala, né? Acho que deve ser a mesma coisa, mas a gente não fala assim, pra você fazer o esporte, pra você ser um lutador. Não, a gente quer que a pessoa viva do esporte pra ela, tipo, ter uma vida melhor, sabe? Ter um corpo melhor, ter um espírito melhor. Eu acho que quando você faz um esporte, você tem isso, sabe? Você tem um corpo melhor, você se sente bem. Você tem um espírito melhor, você acorda melhor, sabe?
When he hit 12,
sports
his
do
world
help.
changed as he began training at a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym.
E aí eu me encontrei, depois de rodar nisso aí tudinho, o que eu me apaixonei foi pelo jiu-jitsu, com 12 anos de idade. Sabe, o jiu-jitsu me ajudou. Eu me apaixonei, eu me encontrei de todos.
Wait, did he say he started at 12?
É isso que eu quero. O que eu me apaixonei foi pelo jiu-jitsu.
And when he was
Com 12 anos
12.
de idade. Sabe, o jiu-jitsu me ajudou. Eu me apaixonei, eu me encontrei de tudo aquilo que eu fiz. Eu falei, mano, é isso que eu quero.
Now, the Oliveira family knew a good opportunity when they saw one. They hustled, selling homemade snacks and recycling cardboard for some extra bucks to keep him in training. Charles threw himself into training and get this, he became the Sao Paulo champion just 2 months in.
Sim, porque quando eu ia pros campeonatos, os mais velhos, antigão, falavam assim, esse moleque é muito talentoso, ele pega as coisas muito rápido. E tipo assim, pô, primeiro, acho que 1 mês de jiu-jitsu que eu tinha, eu já fui campeão paulista de
At
jiu-jitsu.
12?
Not bad for a kid who was supposed to become paraplegic, eh? In 2004, Oliveira won the Sao Paulo Championship a second time. The Copa Nassau Jiu-Jitsu in 2005, and in 2006 won a total of 16 medals. In 2007, as a blue belt, he became 2-time World Jiu-Jitsu Cup champion, winning silver the following year as a purple belt and becoming 2008 World Jiu-Jitsu Cup South American champion.
Are these on YouTube? Or is that it right
March
there?
2008, Oliveira
that's
made
a
his
MMA
professional
fight.
MMA debut, stepping
Yeah,
into the ring at
but
the
it-
Predator Fight
Are the
Championship.
jiu-jitsu fights on YouTube? Because that'd be kind of interesting to watch.
The event
to
was
look
the
into that.
Predator FC 9 Welterweight Grand Prix, a tourney similar to those held by Pride FC. If you wanted the crown, you had to fight and win thrice.
3 lutas na noite.
Quantos round?
3 áudios de 5 minutos.
He started strong, taking out Jackson Pontes with a rear naked choke,
Um batalhão.
Mais rápido.
Uns 2 minutos de luta.
Nossa, você
Mas você apanhou? Você apanhou?
Só tomei uma bica.
which catapulted him to the second stage against Viscardi Andrade.
Viscardi de Andrade, ex-UFC também. Maior do que o cara primeiro que eu tinha ganhado.
Oliveira took him down in the second round via TKO and punched his ticket to the finals.
Dang.
Acho que ele foi fazer uma coisa, eu devo ter fechado o olho, Deus foi lá e abençoou, eu dei o soco. Quando eu abri o olho assim, ele tava no chão, eu falei, eita, fui eu.
The championship round had Oliveira punching his way to victory over Diego Braga.
Fiquei batendo tanto nele, fui no nocauteei o cara.
Caralho, 2 nocaute, mano.
Deu nocaute, daram o cara repórter. Pô, tamo aqui com ele, não sei o que lá. Como que é nocautear? Eu falei, não, eu não sei, eu só sei que eu acertei e eles caíram.
In the months that followed, he collected win after win, ending the year with 6 wins and 0 losses.
That's
By
pretty
the end
impressive.
of 2009, his record had already become an impressive 10-0. By January 2010, Oliveira was named as the 3rd best Brazilian prospect to watch in 2010, according to SureDog.
Who were the
And in
two above
August
them?
of the same year, with a 12-0 record,
And?
he would finally sign with the UFC.
The Brazilian excited to make his UFC debut.
His UFC debut came against Darren Elkins. The bout turned out to be a masterclass in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, showcasing Oliveira's slick submission skills and deft groundwork. Barely breaking a sweat, the Brazilian won by submission, forcing Elkins to tap out to an armbar just 40 seconds into the first round.
Wait, that transition right there was kind of nice.
Submission, forcing Elkins to
Triangle.
tap out to an armbar just
No,
40
armbar.
seconds, showcasing Oliveira's slick submission skills and deft groundwork. Barely breaking a sweat, the Brazilian won by submission, forcing Elkins to tap out to an armbar just 40 seconds into the
That's
first
pretty
round.
clean.
Congratulations on a beautiful submission victory in your UFC debut.
The submission earned him the Submission of the Night award. Fresh off his stunning debut, he then extended
He
his
just jumped on his
undefeated streak by
back.
submitting fresh off his stunning
That looks so
submission earned him the
effortless.
Submission of the Night award. Fresh off his stunning debut, he then extended his unbeaten streak by submitting Escudero with a rear
Standing
naked
rear
choke.
naked.
His third UFC fight, a high-stakes match against Jim Miller in December 2010, however, proved to be a speed bump on his path. Miller, the older and more experienced fighter, locked on a vicious knee bar to get the submission victory at 1 minute and 59 seconds in the very first round. This was Oliveira's first professional loss and arguably the fight where many began losing interest in Oliveira. But kudos to Charles, he took it in stride and worked to get better. And as we'll see soon, he proved all his haters wrong.
Jim Miller.
Charles Oliveira versus Nick the Carney Lentz.
Charles' next opportunity came in June 2011 against Nick Lentz, a solid competitor with a strong wrestling background.
And here we go.
Lentz tackled Oliveira, but skedaddled when met with up kicks and leg grabs.
Yeah, very smart move on his part. He's got to be careful with the leg locks as well.
Clinched, Lentz ate a knee and punch combo and hit the deck from a matching right hand. Both tried, but failed to choke each other out. The round ended with Oliveira flooring Lentz after several punches and knees. In round 2, Oliveira cornered Lentz and returned a kick with a flying knee.
Flying knee.
Lentz, down on his knees, took an illegal knee to the face.
Wait, that was illegal? Hold up. Oh, yeah, because the knee was
Shot
down.
ended up breaking Lentz's eye socket. The referee, as incompetent as they come, missed it and failed to stop the fight as proper protocol demands.
That's a big mistake by this referee.
Oliveira,
was...
down on his knees, took an
that's
illegal
pretty
knee
bad.
to the face. The shot ended up breaking Lentz's eye socket. The referee, as incompetent as they come, missed it and failed to stop the fight as proper protocol demands.
That's a big mistake.
What up is the graphics?
By this referee.
Chilling.
Oliveira eventually took Lentz's back and submitted him.
It's very unfortunate this happened because your performance up until that moment was outstanding. You caught him with some great stand-up techniques. Your ground game looked excellent. You caught him with that illegal knee. Was it just something you got caught up in the heat of the moment?
However, after reviewing the bout over a couple of days, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission overturned the decision to a no contest. Despite the controversy, the fight was indicative of Oliveira's unwavering resolve. He had bounced back from his defeat to Miller, demonstrating a commendable ability to adapt and improve. Just a short hop of 2 months later, Oliveira found himself back in the octagon, squaring off against Donald
Cowboy.
Charles Oliveira, very soft-spoken kid. You know, he's an exciting fighter, but he's, very respectful. Does that change anything for you going into a fight?
Not at all, man. It don't matter to me. I mean, I fight better pissed off, but, hey, what's he gonna do?
Dang.
Cowboy showed.
I thought he fights better when there's love involved, or you know what I mean, when there's peace. But that's interesting to hear him say.
No mercy, sending Charles to dreamland in the first round.
When there's no bad blood.
This marked Oliveira's first time being knocked out in a professional fight, and was no doubt a shock to the system for him. Back then, he surely was a perplexing figure for many UFC fans. He seemed to have a low pain tolerance, with many suspecting his ongoing struggle with weight cuts to be the culprit. In a desperate quest for a winning formula, Oliveira managed to chalk up 2 wins against Eric Wisely and Jonathan Brookins, only to lose against Cub Swanson in September 2012. Despite being less competitive than expected, the bout with Swanson was still a notable one. Oliveira got off to a promising start in the first round, managing to sweep Swanson off his feet. But Swanson wasn't having it. He wriggled free, got his boots back on the ground, and gave Oliveira a good old-fashioned whooping. Ultimately, he knocked him down with a right hand.
Jeez.
And then, like a gentleman, he simply walked away and didn't inflict any extra damage. This fight added more fuel to the narrative of Oliveira flopping when he was up against the big dogs, despite having a full deck of cards in his hand. But let's cut him some slack.
That's
the guy
a
was
funny
only
photo.
22 and still figuring out his formula. In his only 2013 bout, Oliveira faced off against Frankie Edgar at UFC 162.
I'm gonna go in there, just get the job done, and I guess we'll see how good it is afterwards.
Many at the time felt that Oliveira was chosen to ensure an easy victory for Edgar.
Yeah, I fight who they tell me to fight. This is they offered, and I said yes. So that's pretty much the bottom line. I just gotta get ready for a fight, just like any other fight. And he may not be top 10, but he's still a dangerous opponent.
Wasn't top 10.
Edgar initiated the first round strong, quickly unsettling Oliveira.
He's very slick with his submission game.
Yet, Charles recovered fast. Despite his attempts at counter-striking, however, Edgar's slams dominated, and the round concluded with a bloodied but commanding Edgar. In the second round, the intensity continued. Oliveira landed solid leg kicks, but Edgar's boxing was more notable. Edgar controlled the ground, assaulting Oliveira with punches and elbows. While Oliveira stood his ground, Edgar's blows won out, thwarting Oliveira's late attempt at a guillotine choke.
Dang, that looked pretty deep too.
The third round saw Edgar make an early lead, skillfully deflecting Oliveira's attempts at a comeback. While Oliveira managed to land a solid combo, it was Edgar's potent right hooks that took the toll. After preventing Oliveira's takedown, Edgar ended the fight with a barrage of punches, sealing his victory by unanimous decision.
They go the distance.
Following this loss, Oliveira didn't sit around feeling sorry for himself. He came back swinging, racking up 4 victories against Andy Ogle, Hatsuhioki, Jeremy Stevens, and Nick Lentz. His showdown with Ogle at UFC Fight Night 36 in Brazil is especially noteworthy, as it was a real crowd pleaser.
Bang.
Oliveira, on his home field, pulled out all the stops and clamped Ogle in a triangle choke so tight that it made him tap faster than a Morse code operator.
Jeez. That was deep. That was quick too.
Operator in a triangle choke so tight that it made him tap faster than a
Dang,
Morse code
look
operator.
at him. Jeez, he's still trying to catch his breath. Crazy.
But Oliveira's career was like a pendulum.
Holloway,
swings of stunning victories, then hits of crushing defeats. Sure, he was a thrill to watch, but not many saw a future champ in him. Most MMA aficionados pegged him as a pretty average lightweight or featherweight contender. Things spiraled downwards in August 2015 at UFC Fight Night 74, when Oliveira faced off against the then number 5 ranked Max Holloway, known as one of the most powerful strikers in the division.
Yep.
This was no ordinary fight. It was a title elimination contest, raising the stakes even higher. The event, to put it mildly, didn't go as planned for Oliveira. Try as he might, he couldn't get Holloway to hit the mat, nor could he stand toe-to-toe with him in a stand-up exchange. In a turn of events that stunned everyone, the fight was called off merely 1 minute and 39 seconds in. Oliveira fell, clutching his neck and shoulder in an apparent distress. The win was handed to Holloway via TKO. Meanwhile, Oliveira was left to pick up the pieces,
so confused.
amidst the harsh critique of spectators who started calling him a quitter.
Same Charles that fought Cub Swanson, same Charles that fought Donald Cerrone. Choices were made in that by him, and the choice to quit was made.
This event would further cement his image as a middling fighter, seen as someone lacking the grit to clinch the championship.
He was a guy who was kind of known as a guy who fell apart.
A quitter a little bit, yeah.
Cub Swanson knocked him out. A bunch of guys had beat
Max
him.
Holloway had like that weird neck thing going on.
What happened to Max Holloway fight?
Remember, he had like a weird stinger almost in his neck, I think. And he kind of just crumbled in the corner.
Does anyone actually, what was it?
Oliveira had his reasons. He revealed that a training session mishap 20 days before the fight had resulted in a head injury. When he squared off against Holloway, his left side just stopped working, and he feared he was on the fast track to becoming paraplegic. Fortunately, his worst fears didn't come to pass. After a stint in the hospital, he made a triumphant return to the octagon in December of the same year, securing a victory against Miles Jury through submission.
Damn. That's crazy.
Nevertheless, his career continued following the same frustrating trajectory, alternating between wins and losses. After a December 2017 loss to Paul Felder, however, Oliveira's career finally started to turn a corner. The fight commenced in Oliveira's typical style, low leg kicks and effective use of his reach to land firm shots on Felder. For the first 4 minutes, he dominated, grappling Felder into submission threats. The tide turned in the final minute when Felder jumped into Oliveira's guard and delivered powerful elbows. In round 2, Oliveira aimed to take Felder down again, but Felder retaliated with brutal elbows that floored Oliveira.
Eu sentia que eu batia nele, ele nem mexia. E quando ele batia em mim, eu falava, mano, eu tipo no meio da luta, eu falava, meu irmão, melhor.
After a few exchanges and scrambles, Felder managed to mount Oliveira again, and his relentless elbows signaled the end of the match.
Those are some heavy shots right there. Jeez.
Yet this loss marked a pivotal point for Oliveira. Recognized for his incredible perseverance, skill, and self-awareness, he returned to the octagon in June 2018, rejuvenated to fight against fan favorite Clay Guida at UFC 225. Little did anyone know at the time, this fight would drastically alter the course of his career.
Road to championship. Uh-oh.
UFC 225, June 2018, an evening that throbbed with energy. The arena resonated with cheers for Clay Guida, the local Illinois hero.
He's coming into the Lions Den, he's coming to Chicago, hometown, and I'll just make him pay even more for it. I'm gonna literally take his head and bounce it off the canvas like a basketball, you know what I mean? So.
While Guida zigzagged around, prioritizing speed and evasion, Oliveira had other plans. He began with tactical low kicks, rendering Guida's overhand punches ineffective.
Amazing camp of killers has reignited.
The tale of Oliveira's boxing finesse unfolded as the fight continued. His hands weren't just fast, they were accurate. A particular jab left a memorable mark on his opponent's right eye. An injured Guida instinctively went for the grapple,
a
decision he'd regret. Oliveira, seizing the moment, locked in a guillotine choke, and Guida tapped out.
Charles Oliveira by submission. That's got
I'm feeling amazing. I'm maxing happy. Thank God.
This victory wasn't just another notch on Oliveira's belt. It was his 10th submission win, placing him alongside the iconic Royce Gracie in the UFC records. Most
Gracie
importantly,
Academy?
bouncing back from his defeat to Felder, this victory marked the beginning of his most remarkable winning spree in the UFC. After his impressive win against Guida, Oliveira wasted no time. By September 2018, during UFC Fight Night 137, he squared up against the seasoned Christos Giagos. Both fighters brought their A game, but Oliveira's knack for ground dominance prevailed. Securing a submission in the second round, he didn't just earn a win, he etched his name in the record, surpassing the legend Royce Gracie with an 11th submission win in the UFC. Riding the wave of his triumph over Gracie's record, Oliveira had another score to settle.
So that was
A
W
rematch
celebration.
with Jim Miller. Let's jog your memory. Their first clash dates back to 2010. Back then, Oliveira was still navigating the UFC waters, his raw talent evident
Music is
but
crazy.
unrefined. Miller, leveraging his experience, handed the young Oliveira a swift defeat. But 2018 painted a different picture. In their awaited rematch, Oliveira put Miller to the test, settling the score in a mere 75 seconds, a testament to his remarkable growth. Oliveira's two matchups with Miller say it all. Starting as a budding talent and evolving into an MMA dynamo, these fights mark Oliveira's undeniable ascent in the sport.
There's nothing, I don't know how to explain it sometimes, you know? I mean, it's just, there's so many little things involved, and you know, you got to control what you can control, and that's really just the effort that you put into it and the attitude that you approach it with. So it sucks. It really does.
Next up was David Taymor at UFC Fight Night 144
game.
in 2019.
Is that blue hair, or is this just
Taymor
a
was
photo?
no easy opponent, but Oliveira, at the peak of his prowess, stole the show. A surprise elbow had Taymor reeling.
I don't remember
Oliveira
having blue
swiftly
hair.
locked in his trademark anaconda choke. This wasn't just a notch on his belt. This was his 13th UFC submission win, underlining his mastery. And of course, another performance of the night
blue hair.
was in order. With a bucket load of confidence, Oliveira prepped for yet another showdown with Nick Lentz in May 2019. Lentz tried to rally, but Oliveira's onslaught was just too much. The outcome? A TKO in the second round, cementing Oliveira's top-tier MMA status.
Oh my goodness. That was crazy.
Cementing Oliveira's top-tier MMA status.
Dang. Right on the button, as they say.
Later that year, he faced Jared Gordon and secured a first-round knockout, earning another performance of the night. In March 2020, he showcased his grappling against Kevin Lee and won with a third-round guillotine choke.
I think that Kevin Lee
another
fight is where everyone was like, dang, this guy is really business in this division.
That was a tough one. I'm pissed off at myself, for real. Like, I really am.
But the accolades didn't stop there.
At least for me.
Victory, Oliveira not only extended his UFC record for most submission wins to 14, but also ranked second
when
in
I feel like
bonuses, receiving
more
a
eyes
whopping
really started
16.
watching him.
Additionally, he boasted a streak of 7 consecutive finishes, the longest at the time in the UFC, tying with the legendary Donald Cerrone. In December of the same year, Oliveira marked a career high by decisively defeating Tony Ferguson. Oliveira demonstrated superior grappling skills during the 3-round match, firmly establishing his dominance on the scorecards.
That was insane. Oh my goodness,
His
even just looking at
performance
that
against
again.
Ferguson was exceptional, especially with his striking prowess.
When he put it under his
However,
armpit.
the ground game was where he truly shined, almost clinching the match with an armbar.
Right there.
Only for Ferguson to be saved by the round's end.
Extension. I don't know what happened to his elbow.
You can see my foot there. Look how close I am. So I'm doing two things. One, I'm looking for a dislocation, separation, or break, but I'm also listening to see if it's going to be a verbal. You know, the crack in the arm or verbal submission. He did not. He battled through that. And we got to be conscious of the time. So the 10-second clapper had already gone off. So
I could not be a ref in that situation.
And the goal is to right when that horn goes off. You'll see when we stop a submission from that, we go right to the pressure point, push back the opposite way, and take off the pivot point in his underarm to stop it. Because some guys are going to try to hold it for an extra second after the bell goes off. Right as that stops, I'm pushing on it and stopping it, also verbally telling the guy to stop.
In round 2, Oliveira continued his dominance. By the 3rd round, it was evident that Ferguson needed to make something happen. But that something never came. Oliveira
He was just
ultimately
picking
won
him
with
up.
a unanimous decision.
Really tough fight. It was one of the best performances I've ever seen. I mean, what you did to a guy in Tony Ferguson, who's been one of the most dominant forces in the lightweight division, you controlled every single aspect of the fight. The stand-up, the ground. You almost submitted him. And were you surprised?
In May 2021, Oliveira faced Michael Chandler for the vacant UFC lightweight championship.
That was so
In an
crazy that they were
unpredictable
fighting for the
title
belt.
match, both fighters showcased moments of domination before a champion was declared. Chandler came out of the gates with force, landing a left hook and swiftly transitioning into a guillotine choke against Oliveira's takedown attempt.
Yes, man, Chandler needs to fight soon. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a while since he last fought. I know he's been trying to wait for Connor, but I don't know if that fight's gonna ever happen. So would like to see him in the octagon soon.
Chandler had initial success, especially when he cornered Oliveira with a
His last few fights have been pretty fun to watch.
The tables in the second round, landing a left hook that changed everything.
He catches me with a hook, and here you're just the onslaught is happening. You're trying to get away from it.
I don't know if Chandler will win the belt before he retires,
there's no
but
choice but to stop the fight.
Does have some very fun fights to watch.
Joe Rogan, and John Anik are going bananas right now.
You guys think Chandler will ever win the belt before he retires?
That's part of it.
And that's the night Charles became the champion and proved all his haters wrong.
I forgot who said it, but there's nothing like seeing a fighter get the belt for the first time in their career. Was it DC?
I was gonna say, I mean, does this fight week feel special, important, like a big moment in your life?
Yeah, I have a very special to me because I have an opportunity to be the world champion. It gives me chills just saying it, you know. I want it so bad. This fight's very important to me.
You know, it's a tough task, and I'm doing everything I can to put myself in position to compete the best on December 11th for 25 minutes and be the world champion, a goal I set out from a very young age. And that's just it, dude.
In December 2021, at the UFC 269 main event, Charles Oliveira reaffirmed his dominance as the UFC's lightweight champion by submitting Dustin Poirier in the third round.
This was a fight
In
that
the
was
opening round,
very
Dustin
fun to
seemed
watch and
comfortable,
interesting.
keeping the fight upright. However, round 2 saw Oliveira swing momentum, taking the
It's
bout
hard
to the
not to
ground.
like both guys
There
here.
he maintained a dominant top position, seeking opportunities to inflict significant damage. Poirier, on the other hand, hoped to withstand Oliveira's assault, aiming to progress to the next round.
He's not putting feet on the hips. He's not doing anything to get out of here.
Unfortunately for him, this approach proved costly. Oliveira skillfully maneuvered to his back and successfully applied the rear naked choke,
Standing rear naked.
securing his championship status.
I thought that was going to get him away in the first round, but he's a champ, man. The game plan was to take my time. I brawled again when I wasn't supposed to. The game plan was to take my time and let the fight unfold. Take him to the third, fourth, fifth, and pick him apart.
Well, Dustin,
Oliveira's win against Michael Chandler secured him the title, but his triumph over Poirier cemented his status as a formidable champion. Furthermore, this victory awarded him an unprecedented 12th performance of the night bonus, a first in UFC history.
What do you guys think? A champ is a champ when they get the belt or when they defend their belt? No.
In May 2022, Oliveira was set to defend his title against Justin Gaethje at UFC 274.
We're talking about a man with confidence, one of the best in the world, the champion right now. Can't wait to take what he has. This will be my biggest accomplishment. I will say it.
However, a hiccup occurred during the weigh-in. Oliveira weighed in half a pound over the limit for his division.
Oh, that was insane.
Despite being given an extra hour, he couldn't shed the weight. Consequently, he was stripped of the championship with only Gaethje in the running to claim the title.
Yeah, that was insane when that happened. And he had that time to like lose it and he couldn't. You have to be like,
Okay, here's
yeah, you can't be a half pound over for championship fights. That's insane.
The fight is still on, and the title is currently vacant. If Charles wins the fight tomorrow night, he will win the fight, but the belt will be vacant. If Justin Gaethje wins the fight tomorrow night, he will win the championship.
This marked the first instance in UFC's legacy where a title was relinquished because of a weight discrepancy.
He's the guy. He didn't make weight. We have rules. He didn't make the weight. He doesn't, you know, the belt is vacant. But I think, you know,
Dang.
I'm sure in the minds of the media and fight fans, Oliveira is the champion, you know? But technically, he's the #1 contender now. You know, he's the guy.
Like, these scales are
Yeah,
calibrated.
because like it wouldn't count as a
And foreign
championship
fighters
winner,
would
right?
reset the scale so they could switch it back to kilograms. So it fucks up the whole calibration.
Oh, I see.
And so he would weigh in, or he weighed in like the night before the weigh-ins. He was like, "Oh, I'm good to go." And then in the morning, he goes and shows up for the.
I think I saw like the thing during that time where there was like I don't know the percent or whatever, but there's a lot of fighters that were like a half pound over, and people were complaining that this scale was messed up somehow, and it was like really that event that people were like trying to say that there should be digital scales instead of these
the weight
ones.
cut, and it's a pound plus off, and that is directly related to this calibration thing.
Calibration issue, yeah,
So
makes sense.
now they have the UFC has a new policy because of this, where they have a guard who watches over the scale 24 hours a day. Like they have shifts where no one can fuck with the scale. Like
Dang.
if you're gonna get on that scale to try yourself, they're gonna watch you like a hawk, and you don't press any buttons. You don't just get on. What's your weight? Get off. That's it.
Dang. I actually didn't hear about that.
Yet after another dominating performance, Oliveira once again proved that he owns and operates the lightweight division. In less than a round, he forced Gaethje to tap out. Though Gaethje managed to land some strikes, Oliveira's advanced technique in both striking and jiu-jitsu was undeniable.
Tá faltando alguma coisa aqui, não tá? O campeão se chama Charles Oliveira, o Charles do Bronx.
Hey, there's something missing here. The champion has a name, and it's Charles Oliveira from the Bronx.
Champ has a name. It's crazy. That's funny.
By October, the UFC 280 stage was set
Islam
for Oliveira
fight.
to take another shot at the title, facing off against Islam Makhachev. Both Oliveira and Makhachev came into this fight on 11 and 10 fight winning streaks, respectively. However, on fight night, Makhachev's expertise and strength became evident. Islam successfully
Wasn't Islam supposed to fight
executed 2 out of
Beneil?
3 takedown attempts and managed to maintain
What happened to
control
that?
for over 5
I think
minutes
Beneil
in
got
a bout
injured, right?
that spanned just over 8 minutes.
Wait, Islam fought
He
someone.
didn't just set the pace; he was practically conducting
forget.
an orchestra with a snappy
It
counter.
feels so
right
recent,
hand,
but so long ago.
Oliveira found himself sampling the mat. But here's where it gets spicy. Islam, unlike many of Oliveira's past dance partners, dared to join him on the ground.
Yeah, that was the one thing everyone was like saying about the build up to the fight. Islam is like the only one that wouldn't be scared to jump on Charles after they drop him. Everyone else was scared of
Faced
that.
a second round submission, ending his undefeated run that spanned close to 5 years. At UFC 289 in June 2023, Oliveira was pitted against Beneil Dariush to reclaim his
Beneil.
place in the lightweight title scenario. Dariush, a 34-year-old Iranian, had impressively marked 8 straight victories before this matchup. He began with a low kick, but Oliveira responded with a strong head kick. After a brief slip, Dariush landed some punches in a clinch. Oliveira, countering with more punches, eventually pinned him to the fence. The referee stepped in due to the overwhelming offense. And with this victory, Oliveira bagged his 13th performance of the night bonus award.
Charles Oliveira 2.0 was our champion for 4 fights or so, finishing Poirier, finishing myself, finishing Gaethje, obviously losing to Makhachev. But this was a statement fight. Dariush ranked number 4. Oliveira, I believe, ranked number 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there. And obviously Islam is the champion. His last loss was to Islam. So he needed to come back. He needed to stake his claim as one of the best fighters on the planet at 155 pounds.
He needed that win. If he didn't, he probably wouldn't be fighting for the belt right now.
Charles Oliveira stands as a testament to dedication and excellence in the world of MMA. Through countless bouts and challenges, he's consistently displayed why he holds such a pivotal place in the sport. Fans are captivated not just by his impeccable skill set, but by his relentless perseverance and undeniable charisma. His tale is an enduring reminder that with conviction and courage, one can transcend the ordinary to achieve greatness. This is the story of a Brazilian kid.
These
who felt the weight of
celebrations
the
at the
world on
end.
his shoulders. Nevertheless, he took on the world and came out on top. This is the story of Charles Oliveira.
It was a great video. I actually really enjoyed that a lot. I learned a lot of new things. It's a very interesting story. Let me know if you guys learned anything new in the comments down below. I'm excited to see that Charles and Islam fight end of October. Let me know if you guys have winning that fight. I like to see Charles win again, but Islam is a great fighter. Islam's a great fighter though, and it's gonna be a tough one. I think Charles said the pressure got to him, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's the video. Don't forget to smackaroo that like button, smack that subscribe button, and comment down below what videos you guys want to see me react to next. And don't forget to stay fresh.